Good evening and welcome. It's nice to have you with us, along with the AARP of Alabama. I'm Jonathan Hardison from WBRC Fox 6 News, and it is a pleasure to have our candidates and you, our audience especially, along with us tonight for this debate. There are 12 people in all vying to be the next mayor of Birmingham, and tonight you're going to hear from 5 candidates. Why 5 candidates? Well, these are the ones who registered highest in the polls. Beyond just simply throwing funds at it, how specifically would you not only fight crime, but try and address its root causes and perhaps prevent it before it happens? Ms. Bell, we'll begin with you 1 minute. Our city's biggest obstacle to recruiting more jobs is the quality of its education system. How would you as mayor work to improve the quality of the education for Birmingham City School students? Mr. Woodfin, we'll begin with you.
For education to work.
We have profiles of all of these candidates, plus the 7 others, all dozen, on WBRC.com. You can get to know them better on our WBRC News app. If you missed any of this debate or you want to go back and watch some of it again, we'll have it for you to replay anytime you want on demand on our WBRC app, our Amazon, and our Roku channels as well. And we hope this hour is informative for you. Looking forward to hearing from these candidates. So for our first 1-minute opening statement, Ms. Patricia Bell. Ms. Bell.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you for being here. I am delighted to take part, thanks to AARP and to our local Channel 6 for this opportunity. I want to say to the people of Birmingham, I take delight in representing you on this ballot. And on Tuesday, August the 22nd, you will make a decision about the future of our city. We are not just an ordinary city. We are an extraordinary city. And that's why we can no longer tolerate mediocrity. So I'm depending on you to vote for me on August the 22nd, Tuesday, because your children, your grandchildren, your children's future is at stake. And I'm willing to make the changes that must be made to bring down crime, improve economic development, and education.
Ms. Bell, thank you. Mr. Randall Woodfin for our second opening statement. Mr. Woodfin?
Good evening. My name is Randall Woodfin, and I am running for mayor because, like you, I'm living in a tale of 2 cities. The neighborhood I grew up in, North Birmingham, is full of overgrown lots, dilapidated houses, and unpaved streets. The neighborhood school I went to was closed. The hospital I was born in, Caraway, is now dilapidated. Yet we are seeing pocket growth in our city. Requires a mayor who has a sense of urgency of helping all the people that live in our city. And the current administration is full of too many broken promises. The broken promise of addressing crime, yet we've seen crime increase. The broken promise of addressing poverty, yet we've seen poverty increase. It is time to have a sense of urgency and a commitment to improve the quality of life of everyone that lives in our city. Our children, our city employees, all residents, our small business owners. Everyone deserves better. And as your mayor, I am committed to everyone in this city. Thank you.
Mr. Woodfin, thank you very much. For our third opening statement, Mr. Chris Woods. Mr. Woods?
I'm Chris Woods. I'm the next mayor of Birmingham. Birmingham continues to lag in key areas of crime, education, and job opportunities. I am convinced if we come together as one people and unite and pursue the challenges that are involving our city, that this city can be the great city that we desire to be. I have seen some disgraceful behavior by the current administration, and I will serve you at the highest level of integrity and implement transparent government. I will go to Montgomery in the next legislative session, and what I would do is work with the local legislators to introduce a bill that would limit the mayor to 2 terms in office. I will also work to reverse the changes that were recently made to the Mayor's Council Act, because I believe it weakened transparency, and what we are in desperate need of is honest and transparent government in the city of Birmingham. There is no greater priority than the safety and education of our children.
Thank you very much. Mayor William Bell for our fourth opening statement.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. I want to express my appreciation to Fox 6 along with AARP and especially the Jewish Community Center for opening up this great facility to allow us to express our desires to be the next mayor of the great city of Birmingham. In 2010, the citizens made a choice. They made a choice to have William Bell as its mayor. If you recall, back in 2010, the city did not look the way it did now. There was not opportunities for growth. There was a $78 million deficit, but we grabbed the bull by the horn. To that end, we've increased the opportunities for everyone in this city. We've expanded the amount of money that's coming into the city treasury. Right now, we have $55 million more to spend on our neighborhoods, to spend on our communities. We have practically rebuilt the Pratt City community that was devastated by storms. I'm asking you to continue the growth and progress that we've experienced in this city, the public-private collaboration that will make us all proud of our great city. Thank you.
Mr. Bell, thank you. And finally, Mr. Randy Davis for our final opening statement. Mr. Davis.
I would like to thank AARP, WBRC 6 for this wonderful venue. Moving from Titusville to West End, and to the parents from Woodland Avenue, Central Park, all the way to St. Charles Court. I'm the son of a Vietnam veteran and an awesome mother. And I love Birmingham. I'm Randy Davis. From the Blight to Wylam, from the Blight to North Birmingham, West End, dilapidated homes. We all know about the roads. It's time to stop the downward spiral of crime. It's time to go in a different direction, Birmingham. From school reform to infrastructure, it's time. There is no north side, there is no east side, there is no west side or south side. It's Birmingham. No black side, no white side, no Latino side, no LGBTQ side. We need to move this city together and do it together. I'm Randy Davis, and I would like to be your mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Davis, thank you. Crime, certainly something you heard from some of these candidates. We know it's an issue on your minds, and it is the issue we will address in our first question to the candidates after this break. And welcome back to our debate. Our first question tonight centers on the topic of crime. It's something that we have heard from a lot of you. You want to see these candidates talk about, and that's what we'll start with tonight. Ms. Patricia Bell, we'll start with you to answer and come around. Certainly, the tragic case of the 2-year-old boy shot and killed in Avondale over the weekend just brings to mind a problem that Birmingham just cannot seem to shake, the reality or the perception that we are a city with a crime problem. So I want to say, let's get to specifics. Beyond just simply throwing funds at it, how specifically would you not only fight crime, but try and address its root causes and perhaps prevent it before it happens? Ms. Bell, we'll begin with you. 1 minute.
Yes. Crime, not only was the 2-year-old murdered in Avondale a couple of nights ago, it was just a few weeks ago, a 4-year-old in Kingston, near my neighborhood, was gunned down. And the core problem, dysfunctional families. Most families only have one parent. And gainful employment, not just a salary increase, is what we are going to have to fight for. We are going to have to fight for economic development. We are going to have to fight for these families that need to have direction. And certainly what I intend to do is to create a volunteer support group for law enforcement, because we have to get a communication between the law enforcement and our citizens. And certainly, this is something that we have not done, and the mayor says that the initiative is good enough. I don't think that's going to be good enough.
Ms. Bell, thank you. Mr. Woodfin, to you. The question of crime, and specifically, if you can, how you would address it.
As a prosecutor for the city of Birmingham, I can tell you that crime is too high in our city. As a victim of crime, having my own brother murdered, I can tell you there are too many grieving families in our city. As a son of a father who is a retired parole probation officer, I can tell you the transition that too many people in our community face is hard. And as a nephew of uncles who've been to prison, I can tell you that transition doesn't always work. As a city, we have to address crime differently, and we need a mayor that's committed to addressing public safety. The current administration has failed at that, and it doesn't work by receiving a Crime Stopper award when we have 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds dying in the street. The violence reduction initiative doesn't work when murder is too high in our city. We have to find a way to put guns out of our young boys' hands and replace them with jobs. Fighting poverty is the way we address crime in our city.
Mr. Woodfin, thank you. Mr. Woods, the same question to you again. Specific crime reduction.
90% of the crimes in Birmingham are committed by our young black men. That tells me education has failed us. And as a certified educator in the area of industrial arts, my number one tool for fighting crime will be through crime prevention by funding education full of it. The early childhood development would be the foundation of education, where by the time kids get to the 1st grade, they are reading on that level or above that level. Also, we will fast forward to middle school up to high school and make the industrial arts program available to every student. Because let's face it, not everyone is going to college. And what we have to do, help our young people see themselves succeeding in life, flourishing in their dreams. And unless we give them economic options, we can have all the initiatives we want, give all the teddy bears out we want, but until these young men see themselves succeeding in life, that's what it's going to take. And I'll be a mayor that don't
Mr.
talk
Woods.
the talk, but walk the walk and
Mr. Woods,
fund
thank you.
the police department.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bell, it's the same question to you, sir.
Chris, you know, every now and then you say something that I can agree with, every now and then. You know, the problem with the high rate of homicide in our community is lack of education. Our educational system has failed too many young people. I just left an event, the Violence Reduction Initiative, to come here. In that room was 25 young men who are either have the potential to be victims of crime or to commit violent crime. In that room also were two mothers. One mother whose son did not take the opportunity that VRI was giving to him. He's dead now. Another mother was in that room. Their son has now enrolled in Lawson State, who's taken advantage of the opportunities to get an education, to get the skills and tools necessary to pull him from that violent lifestyle. There are 25 young men who will hear the messages of those mothers in that room, but more importantly, they will see the community that is pulling for them, the community
Mayor
that's
Bell.
working to help them withdraw from that lifestyle.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Davis, the same question to you.
Yes, sir. Fighting crime, first of all, we have to have a different type of relationship with the neighborhood and the officers. Community development and economic development, but the neighbors got to get along with the officers. We have to change that relationship. With the community relations program that I want to go into, all officers would be able to talk to neighbors at least 10 times a day, develop a rapport with the community. 10 times a day, that's 300 times a month, 3,600 times a year. That officer's just not riding by. He's becoming one. He's becoming part of that community. So therefore, you become like a family. Instead of citizens not even knowing who the officer's on the beat and vice versa, everybody works to form a common goal to decrease crime, to work together. That is the way Birmingham needs to go. Thank you.
Mr. Davis, thank you. Now to our second question, and for this one, Mr. Woodfin, you will give the first answer, and we'll come in this direction. We heard several of you mention the education system in Birmingham. The central office of Birmingham City Schools has at times seemed more like a turnstile lately than a model of consistent or steady leadership. Many site selection studies show our city's biggest obstacle to recruiting more jobs is the quality of its education system. How would you as mayor work to improve the quality of the education for Birmingham City School students? Mr. Woodfin, will begin with you.
For education to work in the city of Birmingham, we need a mayor that is committed to education. I think it's important for people to remember, prior to me being on the school board, the state took over our school system. SACS placed our school system on accreditation probation. The school system was in the newspaper every week for the board fighting each other, and our finances were not where they needed to be. As the board president, I led us off-state takeover. I led us away from accreditation probation, led our reserve up, as well as increased our local funds and revenues, and kept us out of the newspaper by working collaboratively with my school board members. It's time to have a mayor with that same collaborative style that's committed to education. We have to fund education in a more appropriate way in the mayor's office. And with a $500 million budget, that is going to take more than 1% of a budget. We have to commit financial resources in the bullying pulpit.
That's
Thank
our
you.
time. Thank you, sir. Mr. Woods, same question to you.
Stimulate learning. Learning must be exciting. The purpose of education is to earn your capabilities to make a living. It shouldn't just be a routine of going to school and getting out of school. Education must be presented with a purpose and a plan to stimulate our young people to be excited about who they are. I believe those same environmental tools, human resource tools that are used by Fortune 500 companies need to be modified to fit our lesson plan structure to help our young people see themselves succeeding. As mayor, The city has only been funding education $96, $76 per student. We need to kick that up to $400 per student and work with the superintendent and work with the school board to focus more on the service environment as customer related. The students are clients, and we are there to provide a quality service, because if you don't provide
Mr.
a
Woods,
customer
thank you.
service, you'll lose
That's our
that
time.
client.
Mr. Bell, to you, sir.
We've heard about the first time that the state took over the Birmingham school system, but we haven't heard about the second time they took over. During that period of time, it was through my leadership and talking with the State Board of Education that we were able to pump money into the school system that then allowed the school system finances to be stabilized. Plus, we took property off of their rolls that they no longer had to take care of. And because we gave them those additional funds, they were able to pump up their reserve funds so that then the state could pull out. That's the type of leadership that you have now in the mayor's office. That's the type of leadership that you will have in the future. We will also create a reading program. If a child can't read at the 3rd grade level by the time they're in the 3rd grade, they have a high probability of not graduating. We've got to spend more money in the area of reading for our children, and as your mayor, I'm committed to doing that. Thank you.
Mr. Bell, thank you. Mr. Davis, to you, sir.
Birmingham, we all know we have to take a different approach, and this kind of excites me because I've been working on this a long time. For the first time, and I believe it'll be 2020, under my plan and under my administration, our children will now have hope to go to any 2-year school provided they qualify on scholarship in the city of Birmingham, living in the residence of Birmingham, going as long as they are have 2 consecutive years in public school. We're going to do that. We all know that lotteries are prohibited. But if you go to any gas station right now, you see the scratch offs. Sweepstakes are not. I've come up with something called the Birmingham Sweepstakes. We'll fund infrastructure. We'll fund our schools. And also I want community development centers in each neighborhood. After school, no kid has anywhere to go. Not pushing religion, but we're going to get the pastors and parents and everybody involved. Create these development centers. It will be a program, not some place that you play, but it's just time to move in a new direction and educate our children.
Mr.
Thank
Davis,
you.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. Bell, finally to you.
Yes, well, I'm going to meet, once you elect me, I'm going to meet with Dr. Herron and talk with her about the plans of the future for our children, to make sure that the curriculum is culturally centered, heritage. Some of this behavior is as a result of not being culturally centered. We know in Homewood they're learning African American studies. They're even studying Swahili over in Homewood. Never has that been available in the curriculum in Birmingham. If you don't know who you are, you're subject to act the way some of them are acting. And I wish the mayor, the incumbent, had thought about keeping the state out rather than just waiting until after they came to take over. That's what I would have been. I would have been proactive. I don't want the state coming in. All I want to do is to join in with Dr. Herron and make sure that they don't come back and get everything we need corrected down there at the Capitol for the benefit of our children here in Birmingham.
Ms. Bell, thank you very much. Next, we'll turn to growth. It's a subject Birmingham is happy to be talking about. How do you do it smartly? We've got several questions about that, and we'll do that after this. Mr. Randy Davis begins our closing statements. 1 minute for each candidate. Mr. Davis.
To the citizens in Birmingham, like I said, in 2020, our kids are going to school where they've done everything that we may ask them to do. And at the end of the time, when it's time to graduate, we say, no, you can't go to school. That's over with under my plan. To the families that get $1,500 and $1,400 water bills that we hadn't talked about, help is on the way. Keep pushing. To the city employees that I've talked to that feel the strain, for the first time, we will have a City Appreciation Day. Every now and then, somebody needs to let you guys know that you are doing a good job. Keep pushing. For our students who need all the help that they can get with my community development centers, no place to go home, single mothers, keep pushing. To families out there with roads having to look at dilapidated homes, crime, keep pushing. I want to be your mayor, and it's time to go in a new, different direction. I'm Randy Davis. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Davis, thank you. Mr. Bell, to you, sir.
Well, first of all, again, thank you for allowing me to have served as mayor and to continue to serve as mayor. You know, just this afternoon, the council president and I joined forces along with private investors to announce a professional soccer team coming here to Birmingham, Alabama. The USL, that's the type of collaborative work that we're doing inside city government. We also are working on a plan to increase the opportunity to control many of the dilapidated houses that exist in our community. I did go to Montgomery, but I went down there to get a land bank authority that now will let us get control of those properties so that we can tear down those houses. By the way, we've torn down over 600 houses. That's 400 houses more than any other administration has ever done in 1 year. 600 houses that we're clearing those lots, but we're not just going to leave them cut. We're transferring a lot of those properties to the adjacent owners, to others we're building and developing on. Get someone with experience. Get someone who understands the problems that we have in our city and can produce long-term solutions.
That's our time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Woods, to you.
This campaign is too important for anybody to sit on the sidelines. Some people play the game. Some people watch the game. Some people don't know the game being played. We all need to get in the game and take this election very, very seriously. I commit to you what I have said I would do. Fighting crime will be my #1 priority in the Woods administration. We will fully fund the police department and provide them with the tools they need to reduce crime in this city. Education. I am an educator, and that is the passion of my heart. And you need a mayor that understands public education and who's going to be willing to get in there and fight for these children, because I'm placing the people first. No personal interest, no hidden agenda, no waste of taxpayers' money. Everything is prioritized, and there's no greater priority will be in the safety and the education of our children. I will serve you at the highest level. Wow. Thank you.
That is our minute. Thank you, sir. It does go fast. Mr. Woodfin, to you.
I've had the opportunity to listen to so many people's issues, concerns, frustrations, and problems. And I share many of those frustrations and problems. But at the same time, I've had the opportunity to listen to their hopes, wishes, and desires for the city of Birmingham. You know, it's good to see the current administration execute on Larry Langford's vision. But now we need a mayor with the vision to improve the quality of life of all the people that live in the city of Birmingham, that has a plan around addressing real neighborhood revitalization, supporting education, addressing crime through a real public safety plan, and supporting our small businesses. We have to commit to the people that live in our city, and you have that commitment from me as your mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Woodfin, thank you. Ms. Bell, finally to you.
Yes, and on August the 22nd, Tuesday, I'm depending on you, Birmingham, to think about the future of our city. Think about your children and your children's children. This is the legacy that we are representing on August the 22nd. And I want you to know that when you elect me as your mayor, I'm going to sit down with Dr. Herron, the new superintendent, and double the 2.3 million, triple the 2.3 million that the mayor, the incumbent, put in his budget this year for education. I will triple that once Dr. Herron understands what we want for our tax dollars and the performance that we want from our children. We will also bring crime down, because I'm going to get 1,000 volunteers as a support group for our law enforcement officers. We are going to get culturally sensitive programs to cut down crime in Birmingham and build economic development as never before.
Ms. Bell, thank you very much. I want to thank our 5 candidates tonight for being part of this debate. I want to give our audience a chance to thank the candidates for their time and their thoughtful answers tonight. I want to remind you, of course, to go to the polls 2 weeks from tonight when the mayoral election actually takes place. We have profiles of all of these candidates, plus the 7 others, all dozen, on WBRC.com. You can get to know them better on our WBRC News app. If you missed any of this debate or you want to go back and watch some of it again, we'll have it for you to replay anytime you want on demand on our WBRC app, our Amazon, and our Roku channels as well, and of course complete coverage of what you just heard, diving into these issues for Birmingham in about an hour tonight on WBRC Fox 6 News at 9. I'm Jonathan Hardison. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for joining us. Have a great night.